It's Laura Eubanks of Design for Serenity with your succulent tip of the day, and today we are in our son John's garden. We installed this about 3 years ago, and today is going to be your ultimate succulent pruning guide. Special thanks today to Corona Tools for sponsoring this video, and they were also kind enough to send some free tools. So if you would like to win some things, stay tuned to the end to learn how you can do that. Here I am in this beautiful established garden, and all I need to do my job are my Corona clippers. And you can clip with them, you can snip with them, I even dig with them. So get you some of these if you need a fantastic pruner clipper to work in your succulent garden. I'm also sitting on a cloud here on my Corona kneeling pad. I love this thing. So once again, thanks again to them. I get questions, obviously, a lot, right? And I thought with John's garden being so diverse that it would be a great opportunity for me to narrow this video down to the most commonly asked questions and concerns that you all have expressed about my succulents gone off. What do I do? So we're going to start with this Crassula undulata. This is a very common plant, isn't it? You probably have 1 or 50 of them in your yard, and it doesn't need anything. It's gorgeous. This plant naturally undulates, so it's the perfect hedge. But I also like them just for texture, not necessarily as a hedge, but just as a textural element in the garden. And in this case, you know, it's grown. It's grown to the point where it is now infringing on the walk path. So no, technically there's nothing wrong with it, but it's just a little too big, it's a little out of scale, and it is infringing on the sidewalk. So what I want to show you is how to handle this and how to prune it artistically without making it look hacked up. All right, so my issue with this is how it's leaning over onto the sidewalk. So rather than just cut right at the front where you're going to see hack marks, I'm going to trace this branch. We're going to start here, and I'm going to trace this branch as far back as I can to the point of origin. All right, don't panic, guys. We're going to take this branch and we are just going to set it aside. It may come in to be pressed into service later. But see, I know what you're saying. Well, Laura, now you've got a hacked up hole. Well, I'm not done. Let's go after the next one. There we go. Okay. Oh, this is the most gratifying feeling in the world, guys. Remember, too, another general rule of thumb when you're dealing with pruning, whether it be succulents or even perennials, is typically new growth forms beneath a cut, which is another reason why you don't just want to do that or this. Because what's going to happen is this plant is going to branch beneath the cut, and it's going to be even thicker and bushier than it is right now, and you will have defeated your purpose. You have to go commit and go all the way in. So next we have this branch, right? Going to get after this one. Go all the way back. Nice and low. Oh, yeah. And then we're just going to keep going, right? We've got, let's see. I feel like this might be okay, but I think I'm going to take it. Let's take this. There we go. And then over here, look at that. We've got a giant thick branch, don't we? So I'm not confident that I wanted to. Yeah, what the hell? Let's do it. Let's take the whole thing. Let's go all the way back and cut this one. There we go. All right. Now, don't worry, we're not done, guys. But from this perspective, from my perspective, and walking up the path, it's 100% better. Oh, wow, look at that. Wow, great. You can't even tell that I have done anything. Now, if you want to get down and dirty and you want to do this, you can see the cut marks. You can see here a couple of little cuts that were made a long time ago that have healed and calloused nicely. So there's a couple of things you can do if you have exposed cuts. You can keep going, you know, back further, further, further as far as you can. Eliminate them as much as possible. Or you can do the easy thing and just take a rock. Look at that, fixed it, right? I could move a larger rock. I'm not going to do it right now. I'd need a little help. Probably need more than just my clippers to move this rock. I'd need a crow and a shovel for that job. But I could move this rock over to cover this cut if it was exposed and if it showed or it bothered me. You can even take pieces. Look at all of these. Look at all that we took off of this plant. We took so much off. And you can take a piece, a nice thick piece that you removed, dealer's choice. I want something that's a little, you know, that's upright. Maybe this one. And if that's really bugging you, take your multi-tool, you dig a little hole. Oh, look, I got a little rock here. I might not have to do that. Okay, got a little rock there. You dig your hole, right? And this is another tip when you're working with setting cuttings. Just soften up the soil, all right? Don't leave a hole. Just make it nice and soft. And then you can take your piece and, like a candle on a birthday cake, just stick it in there. Push some dirt around it. And what do I always say, guys? If your succulent stands up, you've done your job. So there I have effectively covered up that wound. If it bothers you, this looks good from this angle too. So all is right with my world. I don't feel like that's necessary in this case to have a cutting under there. So I'm going to take it out. I'm going to put my little rock back. I'm going to clean up any detritus and go inside, throw up my feet, and know that I have done a day's work. Next, we have one of my favorite succulents, and I know your favorite too, the Aeonium Sunburst. Nothing brings texture and color and vibrancy to the garden like a good old Aeonium Sunburst. But I get questions from you all the time about what happens when it blooms. See how this piece is throwing off a bloom stalk right out of the middle. And if I cut it, will it be okay? No, it will not. This piece, this mother piece that is blooming, is dying. This is it for her. But do not despair. Usually, you've got more babies that are not blooming out that can be put back in her place. So let's do that. Let's remove the mother. Okay, there's a baby. I'm going to cut off this baby. Here's another one here that has not flowered. So I'm just going to leave this one as is, right? There's no problem there at all. And then these babies, these little pieces here, all you have to do is just pop them in/on the ground, right? There we go. The plant is making contact with the surface of the earth, and that's really all that matters. Our wonderful Crassula undulata and our Portulacaria is holding it up nicely. This one that has a taller stem, I'm just going to stick right behind it. Now, there you have it. They will figure it out. They will root eventually into the ground and all will be well. Next we have this little moonstone, and you can see that it's sort of a mixed bag happening in here, isn't it? We have some spent blooms and we have some pendulant blooms that haven't really opened yet. This gives people anxiety sometimes. So just know that with this type of flower on more of your rosette type of plants, like your sedums and your pachyes and your graptopetalums, that these are not one-offs, meaning they're going to re-bloom year after year. So whenever you cut them is fine. If you feel aesthetically this isn't it, which is my opinion, I'm going to be brutal and I'm going to cut them all now. I'm in the garden, I'm doing the maintenance. I don't want to come back out here. And I know, oh, but the bees and the butter and the hummingbirds and all that. Well, they've got lots of other things to drink off of. Look at these aloe Vera blooms right next door. So I'm not, worried about our feathery friends. I'm more concerned about how this looks a hot mess. So I'm going to get in there and I'm going to show you the best place to cut for maximum aesthetics. All right, you're going to want to get as low to the point of origin as you can. Why? Because it just looks better, right? You don't want a big ugly stem showing. You're just going to cut them all off or not, again, it's up to you, but you tell me what you think, when we get this done, assuming, that you aren't going to be out in your garden every weekend. Let's say like me, where I'm in doing maintenance maybe once a year. If you don't want to come out, but you're out here, you're doing other things, and you just want to get it done, that would be the reason to do it now. So you can cut these at any time in their cycle. It's not going to hurt the plant one bit. If you go early or you go late, makes no difference. It's just your personal preference. Now, for fun, let's leave this one and this one because they're very young. They're very, very babyish. And I just think that looks a heck of a lot cleaner and more finished. And now, to answer the age-old question, which is the plant that blooms once and dies, and which is the ones that don't? Well, agaves bloom once and die. Aloes, like this Cameronii, are repeat bloomers, meaning they're going to go off year after year. And sometimes, in some climates, you might even get secondary blooms, third, what is it? Third dairy? Tertiary. You might get secondary blooms and you might get tertiary blooms. But they're done now, right? Clearly we can all agree there's no more flower gone. So this would be a great time to cut the blooms. Now, you might be asking, well, how can you tell the difference between an aloe and an agave? Well, you can Google it, or if you're in the garden and you don't have your phone, where's the bloom coming from? Is it coming right out of the middle of the plant, or is it coming off to the side? Off to the side, you've likely got an aloe. Bloom that is coming right smack dab out of the middle, probably got you an agave. So again, same principle, we're just going to cut down low, and there you have it. You can do this anytime. It doesn't matter. While it's blooming, when it's done, you can wait until these branches are crunchy and hard. No matter. Doesn't matter. You can't get it wrong, guys. I promise. All right, then you've got the situation where you have a fairly happy plant, but part of it's not. Does this mean the whole thing's going to die? If I cut this part out, will it hurt the rest of the plant? No and no. Doesn't necessarily mean that the rest of the plant's going to die. It just means that this particular branch has given up life. So again, just trace your clippers back to the point of origin. Where is the point where it has died back? Well, you can see this branch is kind of a mixed bag. We've got living growth here, but dead growth here. So we're just going to take the dead part. And then down here, this whole thing is toast. So we'll clip that out. What happens if you accidentally get part of a live part with your dead part? Oh no, what have I done? Well, no problem. Take your little live part, trim it up to healthy tissue. Healthy tissue meaning it's nice and green. Dead tissue, all brown, right, and crunchy, but that's probably got a scent and it's very green and pliable. And you can just take your little piece and stick it back in here with its brothers and sisters, and it will reroot and take off. So no harm, no foul. All right, then you get to some of the bigger succulents in your garden, like this beautiful aloe ferox. I put this in John's garden 2 or 3 years ago. This is the first time that I've seen the bloom. Isn't it spectacular? I think we can all agree on that. But at what point should you cut the flower off, right? Well, like the rule with all the other plants, whenever you want, but I would highly recommend you let this one go as long as possible because it is so interesting. And of course, the pollinators love it too. But it's also gorgeous, isn't it? Look at this incredible candelabra kind of presentation. So, despite the fact that it's on its way out, right? You can see these flowers are pretty much toast. Here we've got some buds up here that haven't even opened yet, right? We're lower. So if you're really OCD and you want to, you can take off the flowers that are done and just leave the ones that aren't, and I will not judge you for that. Yes, I've done that. Yes, it took me a really long time, and yes, it made my heart happy. But if you don't care about that, I'd let this one ride until all the flowers are crispy. You can even leave it on if you choose to collect seed for another video for growing plants from your own seeds, or you can wait until the branch is really, really brittle, and then it just pops right out. I mean, it's so easy. If you want to take it sooner, you got to get in there with your clippers, and once again, go down as far as you can to the point of origin of the bloom stalk. But it doesn't matter to the health of the plant if you leave this much stem or this much or this much or this much. In terms of the health of the plant, irrelevant. Just, I like to get it low enough that I can't see the cut, from the standing perspective of enjoying the plant. So this is another one that will continue to bloom beautifully year after year after year. It is not monocarpic. This is an ever bloomer. Who doesn't have elephant's food, right? The ground cover to end all ground covers. Botanical name, Portulacaria afra variegata rhodomoncus. And what do? This is one that can be trimmed like you would trim a ponytail. You don't have to worry about branching beneath the cut and this and that. So if you just, depending on your personal taste and aesthetic, if you just want to trim it, you can do that. I'm not a huge fan of that look. I want it to still look natural. So the secret with this type of hanging ground cover kind of plant, works well on the minima variety too, is to start by lifting the top layers of the plant and focus your energies on cutting from the bottom, right? Right, so we're gonna cut as far back as you want. I'm curious what's under here. Yep, that's what I thought. We got more cute rubble, more rock under here that has been completely covered by plant material. So we have to decide, how do we feel about that? Do we want to expose that rock? Part of this you're making up as you go. A couple of options here. We can, I cleaned up underneath so I can lay the skirt back down and just trim off some of the growth. What I've effectively done by lifting the skirt first and trimming underneath is I've thinned the plant and allowed there to be some air. But my question to myself is, do I want to see that rock? And I do. So I'm going to keep going. I'm going to cut back to where I can expose that pretty rock. And this is where you can have fun. It's super subjective. And you can't hurt this plant. It's just going to grow back no matter what you do to it. Even if you accidentally butcher it, wait a couple weeks and you will never have known. So now I'm looking at this and I'm seeing, ooh, cool. I have exposed, some really pretty little rocks. But I feel like this is still a little too long. So I'm just going to trim that up. And you might not want to go completely straight across. Maybe you vary the lengths of your cut, right? Some shorter, some a little longer. I'm always thinking in terms of when am I going to be back out in the garden too. And as you know, with my maintenances, it's, usually just once a year. So I might be a little more aggressive with the pruning of the Portulacaria than you will in your own personal garden if you're going to spend a lot of time out there. But if you do want to one and done it, you can cut this girl back real hard if you're not too concerned about aesthetics, and she will grow right back for you, no problem. So have fun with this, right? You know, get creative, but always remember to start your cuts from underneath. Because if once you've cut off the top, you've cut off the top. If you cut underneath first, you know, you've just got more room. You've got more room to mess around. Okay, that's still really thick, so let me go in the middle here and take this out. Ooh, I've opened up some air right there. You're gonna feel like such a pro when you do this. This is really therapeutic. Honestly, I could just do this all day. See what I'm doing here? I'm exposing this beautiful piece of honey quartz, cutting the plant material away from it, right? And one final bonus tip for your Portulacaria cuttings. So 2 options. You can compost this, recycle it, or you can take your pieces and you can pop them in some dry cactus and succulent mix, set them in a cool, dry location, and see what happens. Chances are good that they will root for you, and you can start some brand new plants. And there you have it, your ultimate succulent pruning guide. Thank you so much to Corona Tools for sponsoring this video. This has been Laura Eubanks with your succulent tip of the day. Bye, guys. Oh, didn't see you there. Well, you just caught me out here doing some weeding and picking up some detritus. But you know, now that I have you, let me tell you about a giveaway that I'm doing. I'm going to be choosing 2 people to win one of my Corona kneeling pads. If you're interested, all you need to do is just leave a comment emoting about a garden experience that you personally have had. It can be funny, it can be sad, it can be heart-wrenching, it can just be informative, just anything that you think would be of interest or be entertaining to share. And I'm going to pick 2 that resonate the most with me, and maybe you will be one of the winners.